I never really liked this place, and but I always end up back here somehow.
I think I was like an alien to them.
If you leave before your boss leaves, it's like something you can't do that. It's like, yeah, it's like unacceptable. My DNA says 0% Romanian. How is this possible?
But I didn't know the country at all. I mean, I heard of the name, and that was.
Miyu, Valentin, good evening on both sides, because we are in the same time zone. And thank you for accepting the invitation.
Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you for having us.
Happy to have you. Usually we start by I'm letting always the guests introduce themselves and tell them when they were originally born and where they are living at the moment. I think, Valentin, in your case, it's a bit of a confusion at the moment. But please go on. Miyu, go on first, please.
So basically, I started in Romania and I ended up back here, but I kind of move a lot. So it's a long story, but we have to start somewhere.
Exactly. So born in Romania, living in Romania.
Yeah. What about you?
I was actually born in the UK because of my parents. My father used to work in the UK, and then I moved back. I don't know. I moved to Japan.
That makes sense.
I moved to Japan when I was 11, and I'm in Romania now with my husband.
A lot of stations in between, but we'll get there. So you grew up basically in UK, you?
Yes, yeah, until 11. Yeah, I was.
Okay.
Yeah,
was it where in UK, if I may ask?
It was in Reading.
Oh, okay.
I think it's on the west of London. I think it was about maybe 1.5, 2 hours from London.
How was the childhood in UK?
Oh.
Was it so you said your father was living there, but I would guess your family was completely was living in UK, right?
Yes, I was living with my parents, and well, I basically went to a local school. So everyone around me, well, I don't know, I was basically raised in a British education,
British education system, yeah.
Education system, yeah. And then at home, I would just speak Japanese with my parents. And on Saturday, I went to a Japanese school, so I can kind of keep my Japanese. But yeah, basically, I kind of grew up in British educational system.
So bilingual, I think my son is also raised bilingual. I think a lot of kids raised bilingual, but I think being bilingual in English and Japanese, it's a bit of a different level, right? Because you're not only talking two different languages, you are talking about two different cultures, which are completely different, and two different writing systems, which are completely different. Did you learn as well the language at home, or was just the spoken the spoken language at home?
So I used to go to a Japanese school once a week. So there I would just do really Japanese, like you would do English in a British school. And there I kind of did the letters, like kanji. And but at home I would only speak to my parents. And after I went to Japan, it was quite difficult to get used to the whole educational system and get used to like learning the language again, because most of the time I only spoke like spoken Japanese. It was, it's very. I would say my Japanese is pretty bad.
We cannot judge on that, so I think Valentin is speaking for both of us. So we don't really know. Raised in UK, then you moved back to Japan. of course, I think talking to languages, for all the kids, I think we parents make more are more worried that the impact that actually exists on kids. I think this is just an overthinking that we have. But moving back to Japan, Miu, how was the there was a getting used to the culture period that you needed when you moved back to Japan?
Yes,
You move to a place which is not like very international. That's very important too. Because you
Okay,
didn't move
that's a
to
good point.
Tokyo. You didn't move to Tokyo, to Osaka. You moved to a place which is like very traditional. So like blending in and going there, like being raised abroad, you're like a foreigner. So it doesn't really make a big difference from what I've learned.
Exactly. Yeah.
I suddenly moved to this very small school in the mountains in Japan, actually, and that school is so small that each class there was only one class for every year, and everyone grew up together. Well, basically, maybe like in my class there was only like 15 people, like 15 kids, and they basically grew up together. And suddenly I'm put into this environment, and they've barely had any new students, or even anyone who came from a foreign country. I think I was like an alien to them. That's the right word.
But it's so interesting that you are like a native from there, but you have the feeling you are not from there, right? When you try to get in and get mingled in the culture.
Yeah, it's pretty different, I would say. Yeah.
Okay, Miyu, when was the idea? So you had always the feeling that you will move out of Japan as well as you grew up, or was something that came out after being a grown up? Let me ask you like this. You
I mean, honestly, when I moved to Japan, I actually kind of felt a bit comfortable in a way, because I looked more or less the same as everyone. But then again, in a way, uncomfortable, because the way like I would think it's a bit different. And the first thing that I noticed was like the sense of humor. I would say it was very different, and Japanese people are quite like sensitive, a bit too joke. And I was
a bit too sensitive.
Yeah. I I think I was a bit harsh. Like I wasn't trying to be. I was trying to be funny, but then I was kind of probably in Japan. It would feel like being picked on a bit. Like I don't know how to
like you're a bit
explain.
rude.
Yeah, a bit rude. Like, but it's just the difference in like humor, I think. And so the way we saw it was a bit different. I mean, like physically, I was more comfortable in Japan, but then I realized that I have a different way of thinking. But I gradually got used to it.
But this is really so interesting because we always talk about this, of course, and most probably it will sound kind of, if I say it sounds kind of racistic, but you have the feeling that you belong into that culture because, like you said, you are looking at that culture, but you are not raised in that culture, and that gives you directly a bit of a distance from them. So you think you are belonging there, but you don't actually. Did this somehow triggered you when you grew up to say, okay, I think I should move abroad again?
I I'm not really sure if that was really the reason why I kind of ended up in Romania. I mean, I've always felt like comfortable to new cultures, so I've never been really scared of moving out of Japan. And I just
I keep saying that if you do it once, you always have the feeling that I will for sure do it again. You don't have the fear anymore. And I think as long as you know exactly that nothing so bad happening, it can only go good. Of course, it's hard at the beginning, but then you get used to it and you realize, you know what, I want to try something different. according to what I could stalk on your Instagram account, I've seen after Japan, I've seen the Netherlands,
Netherlands?
the Holland, or was it
Um,
Spain directly?
I went to study in Egypt for a year, maybe.
In Egypt, okay.
I went to
I'm
study.
confused the flags. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So in university, I was actually doing Arabic, and that's basically the reason why I went to Egypt to study Arabic. Unfortunately, I'm a bit embarrassed to say that because I don't really speak Arabic that well anymore. I haven't been
But
able to use it ever since.
it's like you like to have it hard for yourself. So you heard you learn English, then you learn Japanese, and then you said, okay, what can be more complicated? Yeah, different alphabet. I will just take Arabic.
Yes, Arabic was totally different. It was totally different from English, totally different from Japanese.
And how did you end up in Spain?
In Spain, well, I was in university. During my time in university, I came upon flamenco.
Okay,
And
nice.
in university, I started singing and dancing flamenco. And after did that for 4 years, 5 years, I guess, because during my time in university, and I did actually go into a company to actually start working at one point, but after 5 years, I thought, nah, I want to actually do flamenco and study flamenco. So I
I
decided.
like it.
So I decided to go to Spain for a year to study singing flamenco. And yeah, that's basically the reason. And yeah, I met my husband there in Spain. And
We
now
come back to this
here in
now. So
Romania.
Valentin, now back to you.
Sure.
Grow up in Romania. Can I ask you where in Romania?
Well, I lived in Bucharest since I was 5
Okay.
till 25. So this is where basically I grew up. And funny enough, I never really liked this place. And but I always end up back here somehow. I don't know. It's like
Guys, I love your honesty. We are, I don't know how many minutes in this. I think I never, I never had so open directly from the beginning. So
yeah. So this is actually what happened. I mean, I left when I was 25, and then I went to Spain. I came back a year later because I just couldn't make ends meet because it was during the recession and there were absolutely no jobs. Like it was absolutely crazy. Like finding a job was something like winning the lottery. And because of that, I couldn't do ends meet, but I went there for the same reason as she went. And this was 12 years ago. So I went for flamenco. I just discovered it at some point randomly. It's actually a crazy story. I was just, on my computer one random day, and then my dad comes and gives me a CD with music, and it had no label. It was an empty, like a blank CD, which was written by someone many years ago. you know the game, and basically he said, "Listen to this, you might like it." And well, I took it, and then I kind of played it, and I went through the songs really quickly. I went through all of them, but I just listened to like, I don't know, 20, 30 seconds of each, just quickly skipping. And I just didn't like it. So then I gave him back the CD and said, nah, thank you. It's fine, but I don't like it. And then out of nowhere, a week later, I can't explain it, but I just felt the urge to listen to it again. And I listened to it again. And this time I was really hooked, but like really hooked. And it was funny because I didn't know who they were because there was nothing on it. So yeah, I had to start, looking for the lyrics to what I could understand from the lyrics and, look it up. Nowadays, like everybody would say, well, that's easy. You have all these apps and all that. But this what I'm talking about is like 15 years ago. There was no such thing. Or even if they started, I didn't know about it.
Yeah. So that I feel you, Valentin. So there was no Shazam, there was no
No
nothing,
Shazam.
no ChatGPT, there was nothing. Like you had some
No
lyrics
Google
that you
Lens.
understood. You
No.
understood. You didn't understood the lyrics. You understood the sounds, and then I
And
still
just a few
remember
words.
Casablanca sing that nobody. It had nothing to do with us with the lyrics. Like you were singing it, and that was it.
Yeah.
And you managed to find the song.
I did manage because I listened, we in Romania, we know all languages when we watch TV because we have no dubbing and just subtitles. So we know all the languages that were on TV. So I picked up Italian and Spanish by listening to it, and English as well. And then, yeah, I kind of understood enough to find it. And yeah, it was a very famous, probably the most famous flamenco singer, Camarón de la Isla. And with Paco de Lucia, also like most famous guitarist in history, I think. And yeah, then I started looking on videos on the internet and finding out more. And in a few months, I bought like a cheap guitar and I started trying to learn the instrument and playing. And like 2 years later, I went to Spain to immerse myself in flamenco.
That's so interesting because that's really that somehow that it's a story which makes somehow sense because somehow this flamenco got you together, even though it
Yeah.
sounds over dramatic to say it like this, but flamenco got you together. So it's actually true. How did you? First of all, where were you in Spain? In which part of Spain?
I went to Sevilla.
Okay.
Well,
How did you met?
Well, that was how many? That was like 12 years later since I first went.
oh, yeah.
No, not 12. Actually, about 10. Yeah, about 10. So she moved to Granada to learn flamenco, and then after 3 months she moved to Sevilla. And after the pandemic, I started going to Sevilla again, and at some point we met in the flamenco club where I used to go very often. And we had a common Japanese friend. And Miyu was staying at one of our friends. And she actually found out about me before she met me because I was away. I was on holiday. And what did you what did what did you know about me? What did you find out before you met me? Because that's quite interesting. You told me that.
So basically, it was the summer holidays. And I was actually, at that period, I was in Granada, but I went to Sevilla to try out some flamenco schools to sing. And well, we went to the flamenco club where there's a show every week and people who love flamenco gather. And there I had a few, Japanese friend and other friends. But you weren't there. But
When you first went.
yeah, when I first went in summer, uh, and everyone was talking about him, Valentin, and they were saying it was like this crazy guy. Like I only heard like crazy rumors about you, and I was a bit worried. And I didn't.
But everyone did it with a smile on their face.
Ah. And basically, after the summer, I didn't really meet him. I went back to Granada. And then afterwards, I actually came to Sevilla again to actually start living there and start studying. And that's when I actually met you for the first time. But I knew you before we met.
And okay, so you heard your there is an expression in Romania, but I don't know how to translate it. That your name overtook you, Valentin. So like it really, I really have no translation for it, but you know what I mean.
Your reputation precedes you.
Exactly, your reputation precedes you. Exactly, yeah. That was what I was
How do you
saying.
say that in Romanian?
Can you say it in Romanian?
Faima, no, stai. Wait, because now I have a problem because now you translated.
I think I know what you're saying.
Okay. I need to remember it because otherwise I will not be able to focus anymore.
You forgot your native language.
It's so bad, man. It's so bad. I have to say this. This is getting so much worse every day. So you don't even know what language do you speak. There's a mixture in your head.
Yeah,
Like
I know.
everything is mixed.
I know.
I'm lucky that I speak with my wife, and she also speak with all three languages, like Romanian, German, and English, because otherwise it's a disaster, because you cannot really speak one language. Faima te-o depășit. Asta era. Asta.
Final.
But your
Final.
reputation has okay. But then you met. So at the end, you went back to learn flamenco, or to go in the school, and you met. Who noticed who first?
Well, she knew me before, but I think I noticed her first, because when we were introduced, what did you think? She said,
I didn't think we would get along.
That's true.
But were you speaking Spanish with each other, or were you speaking English?
In Spain, we were speaking in Spanish. Yeah.
I mean, she was also there. She wanted to practice, so she spoke Spanish, and I didn't even know that she speaks other languages. I mean, other than Japanese and Spanish. And in Spanish, she was like she was hesitant, and she was thinking a lot before saying anything. When you're a beginner, it's like that. You don't feel very comfortable. But so because of that, she was not like speaking very much, but I was attracted because of her like body language, and she made some jokes like without even using words, or like one or two words, but you got the idea. So she made it funny, and I kind of got her vibe and all that, even though she wasn't communicating very well. And after a while, we ended up going to quite a few, like, let's say, parties together. And after a while, we went on a date or two.
For the kids watching this, dating was something that people were doing back then. They liked each other, because now it's not happening anymore, because we didn't have social media back then, right?
Yeah.
First of all, I have to ask you something, Miu. How many languages do you speak?
Well, honestly, I only speak, well, more or less fluently Japanese and English, I would say. And then I do a bit of Spanish, and I'm working on my Romanian.
You speak good Romanian. I have to say you speak good Romanian.
I don't. But
Yes, you do.
I'm learning.
Yes, you do. But Valentin, I want to come back a bit to the language topic. I have this discussion with my colleagues every day. I try to explain them why I understand Italian and why I understand Spanish, because I'm not really able to explain it. I'm not really able to say, yeah, because I did study. No, I just understand it. And it's so funny when you are in the discussions and you realize, yeah, I know what he said. How do you speak? No, I don't, but I understand it. I don't know why, but I really understand it.
Yeah, it happens a lot, and people are very amazed, especially, I mean, in the Eastern countries, there are more people like us. So Eastern countries, they kind of speak more languages. Yeah, of course, some of them have worse accent or whatever, but they kind of, they get by. They get it. They understand enough. They can express themselves in a basic manner, but enough to get by. So, but for them, it's like so bad. And in the West, it's so bad. They really, like, they struggle with everything. And every time they just, you probably know it. It's the same with you. They will say, "How do you know this? How do you understand it? But you sound like, you sound well. How did you learn this? When did you study? How long did you study? What did you use? Did you take classes? Did you?" But it's nothing like that. And in Spain, actually, it happened quite a few times that they thought I was Spanish, and that especially they thought I was from Andalusia or from Sevilla, because I learned it by listening to flamenco. I mean, I did watch telenovelas with my grandma, but which is Mexican, like you.
I
So
love the honesty. I love the honesty. Luz Clarita.
and all of those things, yeah. Paloma and all those
Yeah,
novelas,
exactly. Exactly. It's so funny. It's exactly.
But I picked it up like that. But then I kind of polished it, let's say, listening to flamenco for like 2 years before I moved there. So, like most flamenco people are from Andalusia. And yeah, they have a typical accent. Like in
Mhm.
every city, they have a different accent. But like the Southern accent is kind of similar. So because I spoke like that, most people thought I was from there, even Spanish people. And because of this, I could always do jokes. And I told them I was from every city, everywhere, and they said, no, this my friend is my aunt is from there, my cousin lives there, we're in Malaga or where whatever. And I said all this, and I kind of knew, and I could develop the story. And then like I would tell them later, of course, that it's like no, I'm from there, but they would be like shocked. But yeah, it was quite the story.
I do remember always this joke with you're from Malaga, but they're quit in Malaga. No, I cannot really translate this. I'm sorry.
Yeah, this is the tough one. Yeah.
I always say that I have a different kind of respect for every English speaker that is learning an additional language, because there is a kind of entitlement for everyone speaking English, because they are somehow almost sure that they are finding somewhere everywhere in the world that can speak their language. And that's why I do have a different kind of respect. I had some guys from US. I had a girl from US. She was from, I don't remember the state anymore, but she studied Spanish because she liked the language, and then she learned it there, and then she moved to Spain just to speak the language. But I say I have respect for that, because you speak English, like you can get along everywhere in the world, right? You don't have the need that we have, Valentin, to try to understand them, like.
Yeah, it's actually true. Yeah, but this is why every time, like you said, I also have like a big respect, because and English and Spanish is more or less the same. Like Spanish,
Exactly.
you can speak like almost anywhere. You could kind of get by with Spanish. Not everywhere, but most places you can when you travel and all that. But yeah, when they try to learn it, and when there's somebody who actually kind of knows the language well and can defend themselves, properly in a different language, that's really, really something and fascinating. I think that's really like hard work. It's not like us because
Exactly.
they had it all dubbed.
It's so funny. Also, I see it in Germany a lot, that because they didn't had everything in the original languages, they learn in school, for example, English, but they never heard the English language spoken. And I can always keep telling this story. I had a colleague who was saying Wednesday, because you write Wednesday, not Wednesday.
Wednesday.
Instead of Wednesday, because you write it like this. So they learn in school, they read it, and that's it, because they never heard how normal people are speaking it. Yeah, but this is only a habit topic, right? Okay, guys. So you met in Spain. You both like flamenco. I think you got together. You also got married in Spain, as far as I could find out. Exactly. Why, as you said already, that you are not a big fan of Bucharest, Valentin? Why the decision to go back?
To go back to Bucharest?
Yeah.
It's actually, there's been a few factors. It's not just one. But we were actually in Spain, in Sevilla. It was April. It was the middle of Feria de Abril. Feria de Abril is like local cities fiestas.
Festival.
Yeah, the festival. And it's a week every year, and it's like the craziest thing that will ever happen in that city ever. Basically, the city is 24 hours partying, and
24 hours.
yeah, they basically the parties end at 7:30 in the morning, and they restart at 10. So it's like, okay, it's that kind of stuff, and everybody goes out all night. We used to go out. I used to go out only at night, so I would leave the house at like 9:30, because it's like in the outskirts. So you have to take a bus or taxi or something. And I would get back in the morning early. And this is a very intense week, but we all love it. And we have a lot of flamenco there too. And our flamenco club has like a big setup there, and it's really cool. We have shows, we have a lot of good stuff. So I think especially in that, on that occasion, you left the country.
Yes.
I took her at like, what was it, 7 o'clock in the morning. We went to the feria, we danced, we had drinks with friends and all that. And in the morning we left. I took her to the airport because she went to Japan. And we kind of made the plan that we would go back, see each other in September in Spain again. So she would study for another year because she was enrolled in like the most famous flamenco school, Cristina Heren. And that was our plan. So we would meet again there. She would go to Japan because her visa ended and she had to do a few more things. So in a few months, we would meet again. And right the month after that, in May, I went to Japan to visit her and to meet her parents and all that, And while we were in Japan, I was supposed to stay 2 weeks, I think. And then I changed my plane ticket. I wanted to stay like a week longer because it was really cool. And so I said, yeah, I changed it. I could change the ticket without paying too much. So I said, okay, I'll stay another week. And literally right after I changed my ticket, like I changed it this morning, and this night, the same night, I got a phone call from my sister, and she told me that my mom got cancer. She was like literally just diagnosed. She just got the result. And that was like the news. And yeah, it was an evening. These are the moments you will never forget. So, so they stay with you. And I gave you a bit of context because of this, so you would, and yeah, I mean, I never had this in my family before. A close friend had the same with his mom a few years back. So I kind of knew a bit about the situation. I wasn't like totally blank, but yeah, it was, when it happens to you in your family is different. And so I found out, and I told her, obviously, and I knew I had to go back. So this is why I ended up back in Bucharest. And
Okay, absolutely understandable, and I think that's something that you can never really know how it feels, and I hope nobody will know how it feels, because you only feel it when it's happening to you. So I think there is no other, everything else is just like you said, it hits different when it hits you, and I think that's um, important. So you decided to move back. That means you haven't met in Spain again?
no. So what happened is, like, we talked. I stayed for like a week. As I said, I changed the ticket. So I had like a few more days to think about it, process it. Obviously, like, my days there, we had schedules, we did things, but you always think about that now. It's like, it's
Your
all,
head is busy. Your
you're
head is
always
busy,
going to
yeah.
think about it. So you can't really make the most of everything, but you do your best. And during those days, I told her I have to go and be there for them. You know, they need me because, these things, you have to go back and forth to the hospital. She had my mom had some mobility issues, so she couldn't like go by herself. So it was more complicated. So they really needed me. And then I realized they needed me. And because of that, I knew, I mean, you don't know for how long you're going to be there. You don't know with these things, how they evolve. And, in my friend's case, for example, his mom had cancer once, got rid of it after 3 years. And then 10 years later, she got it again,
Back.
went for like 7 years, and then she passed away. So I knew a few things from him and experience. And he told me it's going to be ups and downs, with 2 days better, 3 days worse, and you don't know where it's going to lead. So because of this, you can't really make any kind of plans, or you just have to be there and just work it out somehow, see how it evolves, and be there. And she volunteered. I mean, she said, she would like to come with me, but she said, I don't want to be a burden for you. So if you're going to be already busy and all that, I don't want to be. And I was really happy. I was really happy because, yeah, I mean, I had no other option. I couldn't just leave my family, abandon them in that situation. So although I wanted to be here with her, but I just couldn't. It's like, that's like something you can't pick. You can't choose. Like life chooses that for you. You have to just go through it. And she said that, and I was happy, but at the same time I was thinking, you know, what's it gonna be like for her? You know, it's if I don't like this city, what about her? And it was actually, what was funny is like also my close friends and even like my sister and all and my family, everybody said like, "Are you sure about this?"
What did you do to her? How did you force her to do it? How?
Yeah, that I got that question, and I mean, when I came back, I rented the place, and the owner asked me, uh, "Where? How did you convince her to come to Romania?" And I said, "Luckily, I didn't have to. I didn't have to. It just worked like magic. She fell into a trap. She doesn't know what she's doing."
She doesn't know. Exactly. She just came inside and I didn't let her out. So, but Miu, what did you know about Romania before moving to Romania?
Oh no.
Tell the truth.
Yes.
Well,
Look,
I didn't know the country at all. I mean, I heard of the name, and that was it. I didn't know where it was.
you heard about Comunich?
No, that was my
Ah.
parents.
Your parents.
So it's actually in Japan, like Romania is not really known, and my parents' generation, they know Comaneci and what, Ceausescu,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that's basically it.
Mm-mm.
So I didn't really.
So after 89, there's no news about Romania in Japan.
So for me, I didn't even know Comaneci.
Oh.
So I didn't know anything. And I kind of started like looking it up after I met you. But yeah, before that, yeah, honestly, I didn't know anything about Romania.
So what did people tell you about when you first told like someone about, I want to go there? What were your reactions? But be honest.
I mean, I didn't get so many reactions. Maybe it's just because they really don't know where it is. There's no information about this country.
What were your parents saying, Miu? When you tell them, okay, Spain was nice, I learned flamenco, but now I'm moving with this guy to Romania.
I mean, like, are you sure? Well, yes, it was a shock, I guess. Yes, but I think they were. They didn't feel too bad after they met you. So they were very shocked when I told them.
It was lucky that I went and they didn't come for the first impression. It was a good move.
Valentin, we can do a good impression when we want to. So your parents knew some things about Romania. I think that kind of solves it, how important that kind of solves the problem for our extreme parties to explain how important is Romania in the world, the world's constellation, that nobody knows much about it since Ceausescu was gone. But
it might be better.
I think so. Yeah, I think so. The question is, you didn't know anything, so you started to do some research before moving. Have you read some bad stuff on the internet before moving into Romania?
I did start to do a bit of Romanian actually before I came here, but maybe not so much research.
Okay.
I learned a lot more after coming here.
I remember you told me there was a friend that told you to no, don't go. Whatever happens, don't go. It's just no.
Did I?
Yeah, yeah.
She blocked the memory.
It's better. It's better.
And she also blocked the friend.
No. The
I'm just joking.
friend came to our wedding, but it's
Ah.
good. No grudges.
So I have to say, no expectations. Understand that makes it better because then you cannot be disappointed. But how was the landing experience in Romania? How was the arriving experience? How was the first week? What do you remember from the first week?
That's a good question.
The first place he took me out to eat was shawarma.
Traditional Romanian. I would do the same.
And I was like really surprised.
Welcome.
It was very good. I remember the shawarma was very good.
Much better than Spain.
Spain, yeah. Spain, the shawarma is not very good.
No,
unfortunately.
And they don't put French fries in it, so that makes a lot of sense.
It's very fresh here. I don't. I find it very fresh.
What was the biggest surprise that you have seen? Of course, besides the carriages, the horse carriages on the streets and so on. Like, what was something where you said, "Oh my God, I cannot believe that this is happening"? You know what, Valentin? For us, everything is normal, but when you see it from the different glasses from outside, I think you see it completely different.
For her, the safe part was that she went to Egypt and stayed there, lived there for a year. And imagine she went with a few friends from Japan, from university, and they were studying together. It was a normal apartment in like a neighborhood. They went downstairs and they had shawarma every day. But in Egypt, life is different, and it's in a way similar to Romania, but she's saying it's even more chaotic and even a bit more like aggressive. People are more aggressive to sell you stuff and that kind of stuff. So she was kind of used to all kinds of. She learned a few things. You told me this.
Yeah. So it didn't feel as bad. Like
The transition.
Yeah, I mean, like, for example, in Japan, the roads are really clean. It's very flat. You don't have bumps. On the bus, you don't go shaking head. But
How can that be? How can that happen? I don't understand.
in Egypt, it was. I guess you could imagine it's definitely not as good as in Japan, but here, I mean, it's not as bad. I think I kind of got used to all the chaos.
You will be surprised if you ask her what she likes about this country.
What do you like about Romania?
I like the people. I mean, I think they're very friendly and warm, I would say.
That can't be. That must.
We're in a different country. We're in Spain.
I just want to ask you, are you sure you're in Romania? It cannot be.
I mean, most of the time I've had a really good experience here with the people. So, yeah.
I think, but Valentin, I think I know why.
Yeah, me too.
We hate each other. We don't hate the others.
That's the thing. But no, I heard, I'm sorry, I don't know the term, but I actually saw that there's like a psychological medical term or something like that about when you kind of favor or think that foreigners are better than you. And this is what we have here. So we're very hospitable and friendly and all that with foreigners. And
we have a complex because we always thought that we are less than everyone, at least in the 90s, and I think that's something which went into the generations, and I think this is the same. And she's coming, and we are coming from a culture which we see somewhere really, really high on the cultural level, and I think that's to be honest, I think that's something which is somehow impacting their behavior, because otherwise, we are not that friendly. No.
But it's quite funny because, for example, I saw a few cases when she is like approached by, you know, very old ladies, like ladies in their 70s, 80s, grandmas. In some, we went to some villages, we passed to get some products or explore stuff, and then she gets stopped, or the neighbor downstairs, you know, and they practice. I mean, she practices Romanian this way because, funny enough, when she's in Bucharest, she speaks Romanian. She tries to speak Romanian, and when she goes to a store, or restaurant, or something. But every time, you know, you could say it, like every time they
Yeah.
respond
Then in English.
in English.
Yeah.
So she can't really practice it here. And with these grandmas, is when she gets the chance to practice, because they actually don't know other languages. So she gets to get to know her. She makes friends with all these grandmas easily, and she was like mistaken for a local. It was funny.
Kind of.
I
Like,
wasn't. We went to a village, and there was an old lady, and she grabbed her by the cheek and said, you're from here. Did you just finish work or something like that?" And they were like, honestly, and she was like, "What?" And like, she was talking and was a bit confused, and yeah, well, she was confused for a local, but literally it happened. So I was laughing, and when I went in that village, it was like a very poor local store. We just went to check it out. It was a funny story. So, you know, with my haircut and all, my look, sometimes I don't look like I'm from here. Not always, but sometimes. And in that case, it was funny. Like, you're a local and I'm not.
But it kind of makes sense, as I said, and I think we are extremely friendly with everyone coming from outside. But I think that the fact that you got mistaken for a local, that's a different level. That's I have to say, really nice, really nice. Miu, what do you think? Do you think there is a thing which Romania is doing better than Japan? Because look, I can tell you a lot that we don't. So trains are not, roads are not better. So bureaucracy is not better. Cars we don't make better. Our industry is a disaster. Maybe you found something. I don't know.
well, it's kind of like no. It's kind of like, as I already said, the hospitality, I guess, is very different.
Okay.
I mean, it's very different in a way. As like, I never really realized, but like in Japan, it's kind of a bit different. Like, when you see a foreigner, you feel a bit like scared in a way. I mean, not everyone, but like a lot of people try not to
Engage.
engage with that. So, but it's like the other way around. It's like the other day, like some girls asked us to play ping pong.
Yeah, that's true.
randomly, and I was with another Japanese friend, and they were like, "We want to play with us, like the Japanese."
Yeah.
Which I thought was really funny. It would never happen in Japan.
But we well, in every of the let's say if you have a business a meet with someone from Japan, there are strict rules that you have to obey, like you are not allowed to do this and that because everything is considered offended. Do you have the feeling that we have a bit of a loose culture in comparison with the Japan? Like you don't have that many rules, you can actually be more yourself that you can be in Japan?
Yeah, I would say so. Well, it wasn't only in Romania, but it's like in Japan, people tend to care about how they're seen. So we try not to stand out too much. We try not to like annoy anybody. So we're basically just walking straight. Like we wouldn't. We care about our surroundings a lot. But here, I guess people are more free about that. Um, they would talk to someone randomly, or I don't. Um,
But what you said here, you said you for example, you like the cheeses in Romania more than in Japan.
Mhm.
You said that cheeses are much better. You said
Well, yeah.
you said kebab is much better. You said that taxis, Ubers, and all that is much cheaper, and you like it because you can go out late anywhere, and you just pay a few euros and you get back home, which is like in Japan, it would cost like probably 10 times more to get a taxi at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so there are a few things that she likes. It's
Mm-hmm.
The fruits and vegetables are very good. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, that's an interesting one.
Mm.
Okay. I mean, they are fresh. That's true.
They're fresh and cheap. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, that as well.
So-
um, how is the working culture, or how do you perceive the working culture in Japan? Is Japan a workaholic country, or do you think it's somehow the same level as it is in Romania?
don't try to get her passport canceled. Can I respond in her place?
Yes, I'm just curious. I'm extremely curious. How does it feel from the outside? No, nobody's watching this from Romania. You can say.
Yeah, Japanese people don't really
Japanese
watch.
people.
Don't watch shows in English.
Yeah.
You're safe.
Yes, Japanese people. I don't know. Tend to be very serious. So I don't know. It like depends on the person in the end, but.
Can I respond?
Yes, please.
So I'm not telling you, this is not from me, okay? I don't know this person. This is what my other Japanese friends, I do have a lot. Honestly, I do have a lot. And what they told me, all of them, every single one. So when I asked them, I asked them, what don't you like about Japan? Because, there's a lot of nice things I already know about, but I asked them what's bad. So I would get like a more realistic impression, better feedback. And like people, when they're out of Japan, the only thing they miss is food. Like everybody, honestly, that's the only thing. The first thing that they would say, like, yeah, or sushi or this or ramen or whatever they like. But they would say this. And the things they hate is like the weather. Everybody hates the weather in Japan. It's too humid, too hot in summer. It's quite cold in winter because, the houses are not very well prepared for that. Like the traditional ones have literally like paper walls. It's really, I was stunned to find out from a friend who is also married to a Japanese girl that there's, I don't know how many, I don't want to say a stupid number because I don't remember exactly, but there's plenty of people in Japan dying every year because they get out of their bath, which is like heated. They put the radiator or something. And when they go in like another room of the house, they have a heart attack and they die, especially older people. I don't remember how many, if it's 10,000 or
Crazy.
more. But yeah, I was shocked too. But yeah, so people hate the weather there. And you sweat, and somewhere you just leave the house, literally in 2 minutes, you are like you sweat, and it's bad. And what else do Japanese people hate? Well, the jobs, like what you asked before, they are workaholics. Some people want to, and some people actually have to do it. But if you're in a Japanese company, traditional Japanese company, you will have to do extra hours every day. If you leave before your boss leaves, is like something you can't do that. It's like
Disrespectful.
yeah, it's like unacceptable. It's like how can you? It's like and
Oh well, the boss can't leave before. Yeah, same.
yeah, the boss can.
No, the boss can't leave.
The boss can't.
No, if you still have people around, of course you can't leave because
So nobody wants a contest. The boss doesn't want to leave because the others haven't, and the others don't because the boss hasn't. So this is why they end up staying like working over 10 days every day.
it's quite normal to work overtime. They think it. I mean, in Japan, we consider it quite normal to work overtime.
Look, I had the reason why I'm asking, because I had someone that was living in South Korea. So of course not the same, but somehow close to the culture, I would say. And what she told me, she was from US originally, and she said, I love living in South Korea, but I'm kind of sick of working in South
Ah.
Korea.
Mm.
So she actually used this sentence, which comes somehow stuck in my head, because she said the culture is amazing, the what you can see there, what you can do there, but the working culture is awful. It's like you don't really have a life, to say it like this.
Some people do, like in Japan, volunteer to just work overtime. Then they'd rather work overtime than have more things to do the next day. And it's
Yeah, you know, it's always an interesting topic, because I had never heard about the work that was done to the end, because there's never an end, because whenever you finish it, you get more work on top. So yeah,
so
yeah.
we have a friend, a Japanese friend, that on her free days she just sleeps. So whenever she
Because
has a
you're
free
tired.
day, yeah, she just sleeps the whole day. She stays in bed. And more people, when I ask them, I remember other friends we talked to, even in Japan and in Spain, Japanese people, they said the same. Well, like sometimes when I have a day off or I take a holiday, I just stay in bed all day.
I mean, there's a bit of a pressure. So it's like if you just went home on time, you would be considered a bit lazy, I think, in a way.
This is okay. This is just a bit of most probably it's a cultural thing, right? But it's still really hard, because you don't really have a life anymore. Like it's more, and like you said, Valentin, that if you are working 5 days a week and you work, I don't know, 60 hours every week, then Saturday and Sunday, even if you want to do something else,
You're burned
there
out.
is no option, because exactly. But you mentioned food, Valentin. That's a topic which, of course, I want to talk about, because the switch from sushi to sarmale must have been on a different level as a step. So, first of all, tell me, how was your first food experience besides shawarma? Okay, let's put shawarma on the side. Because Romania, I don't know if you know me, I don't know what Valentin told you, but that's not Romanian. I don't know what.
No, it's adopted. It's adopted. Yeah.
I'm just joking. But what was your first Romanian food experience?
We went to the one of the most famous restaurants, I think, Carcubere, which is like one of
Carcubere, yeah.
in Bucharest, and we had like the most basic food, meat and sarmale. Like Romanian food, you always have meat and sarmale.
Yeah.
But sarmale, I loved it, and I still do. Like sarmale is my favorite food.
Don't say that you don't like meat; they will kick you out of the country.
No, I like meat, but I prefer sarmale.
She does. She likes both. She likes both a lot. Yeah. She never says no to that kind of.
Is there a kind of food that you would say you would have never had if you would hadn't reached Romania?
There's some foods that you particularly like that it's not something that in Japan we eat a lot. Like for example, like slanina jumar, like pork fat, just fat. Oh yeah, chicharrones.
We had chicharrones in Spain too.
Yeah, and
it's not quite the same. Like we like it raw.
and
yeah, that's true. That's true.
then there's like organs, things like liver, toba.
Oh, okay.
Like organ, I don't know.
Drob.
Yeah.
Goat meat.
Drob.
Drob, yeah. That kind of things.
Have you had ciorba de burtă?
Yeah, I did. It's one of your favorite.
Yeah, I like it.
And you liked it, Miyu?
Yes. Well, it's not my favorite.
Okay.
She doesn't like the smell, but the taste was fun.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think that's a problem that we might have, or some of us have as well, but we still eat it.
Yeah.
Have you ever had the shorik?
Yeah, skin, yeah, pork skin. Yeah,
I thought
also not really my favorite.
But was it a big switch for you, or was it helpful that you've seen the European culture already in Spain, and that why the switch was not so big? Food-wise, I mean.
Food-wise, yeah. So basically, I kind of grew up in an environment where I had loads of different types of food. So
True in
it's
UK,
not really
correct.
a big shock. even in Japan, I would make different kinds of food
Dishes.
Yeah, I used to like to make Indian curry, and then I would like to try to do some Mexican things, um, Southeast Asian things. I mean, I basically like doing different types of cuisine, personally. So I didn't really think of it as a big shock. I'm not.
Look, almost every American guy that I had until now, and I asked which kind of food do you miss, they all said Mexican. And I said, your president will hate you. Yeah, your president will hate you for the rest of your life now. Like, but I think this mix of culture, I think UK is a really good example for this culture mix. When you grow up there, like you had Indian for sure, and you have one of the best Indian in the world there. I think you have also Southeast Asian. You have a lot of Mexican food as well, and I think you have a good mixture there. So, I mean, if you had the mixture, it's the same like with traveling. If you do it once, it's like with the food. If you try it once, you are more and more interested to understand how different different food is made. And I think we are all a fan of Indian. That's my feeling, at least.
Yeah, since I was a child, even the food that my mum made, it was kind of influenced a lot from the UK. Yeah, so I was kind of used to having different types of food. So
now I want to come to the other interesting part for me, because we Romanians see our language as we always think that our language is not so complicated. But whenever I started to learn German, I realized that the article that they have in front, and it's bloody complicated, we use it at the end or sometimes in front. And then I thought, okay, how could I explain someone to something like this to someone from a different culture? And I realized, oh my God. And then I want to ask you, how hard is it, Miyu?
Romanian.
Yes.
Well, personally, I've done a bit of Spanish, so like grammatically wise, like I found it quite similar to Spanish. So yeah, grammatically, I feel like it's kind of similar, and also it does have some similar words to English, so it's not as difficult, I don't think. But I found the pronunciation a bit difficult because you have different types of vowels.
But she's very good at it. Everybody is shocked. The pronunciation is good, but yeah, it takes a bit till she remembers exactly how to pronounce it, but she can pronounce it really well.
I've seen it in the videos, and I have to say I was really impressed. That's why I ask you how hard it is, because I think you put some effort in it to get to that level. That's my feeling, at least watching your videos.
I mean,
in the videos, I have some help from Valentin, but
no, but it's not me. It's not me, because actually she learned. Well, you did languages in university, and she was born in the UK. She moved to Japan. She studied languages. She went to Egypt. So she already learned like so many alphabets and stuff. It's like already a lot of things and a lot of cultures and systems of thinking. And then, through flamenco, she also like started learning and picking up Spanish. And once you kind of know Spanish, learning Romanian becomes also a bit easier, because there's many that are similar. Some are identical, but many similar. So for her, like, learning the basics was like the days of the week or all that, they start the same way. So it was
absolutely.
But she funny enough, she kind of mixes them up sometimes.
Right now, I've started to mix those languages now. So when I go to Spain, I'm doing Romanian words.
Welcome to our life. Welcome to the expat life. You never know which language you have to speak. You always, the other 10 are coming, but not the one that you have to speak now.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Especially when you don't have a very like strong foundation. It kind of happens. Yeah.
But I have to say, Mio, so I would say don't underestimate yourself, because it's not Valentin who's saying things in the videos. Like you're really that's why it's my honest opinion after seeing them, and of course that he's telling you how these words are, on what does cheese in Romanian and so on. That's a different topic, but the pronunciation is not his. Like the pronunciation is yours, and that's something that you really have to appreciate on yourself, because that's not easy to master. And as someone who's trying to learn different languages, I think that's clear that it's a It's not easy.
No. Maybe yeah, I'm all right with pronunciations, I think.
Yeah.
Maybe it
Yeah,
comes from like
absolutely.
singing and things.
She doesn't study that much right now, but she is like she's doing it constantly. She is into it. And ironically, she takes Romanian classes with a Romanian lady who lives in Japan. Yeah. So it's like so funny. It's like, and I asked her, how did that happen? I mean, what was the odds?
I
You
mean,
know?
every week I'm asking how the weather in Japan is.
And then you're talking to your parents, you said, it rained last week. I don't know.
It's quite I find it quite funny, yeah, ironic.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it's
The world is
interesting.
so small.
Yeah, exactly.
She teaches me Romanians when I don't understand. She tells me in Japanese.
What more could you
It's
wish
a
for?
it's a nice win-win situation. Guys, you are living a couple life between two cultures or mixing two cultures together, and I want to ask, how much of the arguments are coming from the personality that you have, and how much are coming from the culture differences?
I don't think I don't think we ever had like a real fight because
N-
because we kind of get along. I mean, I have friends of all races, colors, from every continent, nation, plenty. And I got along with people of all sorts, from homeless people to very, intelligent people who do have great roles and status, and like all of them, I can get along with all kinds of people, and I like knowing and discovering cultures, people, and all that. And she, although Japanese people tend to be like a bit more focused on their own bit and blending in and staying like that, because she also went, she started in England, she moved to the Japan, then she was kind of bullied a bit because she wasn't fully Japanese, and in England she wasn't fully English, and she felt like, I think she felt a bit out of place everywhere, which forced her like to adapt and like, you know, like take a bit from each and every culture. So she has the knowledge and the ability now to switch between one and the other. And because of this, I actually think her Japanese side is really helpful, because it's kind of funny because not everybody agrees with this. Okay, so this like the Japanese, let's say, strictness, like that line you have to follow. Everybody has to. If not, you're gonna be pointed at and told you're not doing well, or, But that part is quite good, because I think it depends. It also definitely depends on the parents. Oh, the parents set a really important example. But I think her Japanese part is really cool, because we don't have to talk about things too much. We kind of, I either like let go of things, or she lets go of things, and we kind of make everything work beautifully. I don't think, we never get into arguments or for more than
But
a minute or two. I mean, it's over in 2 minutes.
yeah, for sure, and I think that's clear. I'm just always thinking. So you say, Valentin, that is more like a they help each other. The cultures are helping each other. Like
Definitely.
when something is lacking in the Romanian culture or in your culture or in your personality, is something that she's bringing. But still, I'm talking about this. I would call them stupid things, but if you follow me, you understand what I'm saying. Like, there are always different cultures and stuff. Like, I'm not giving you a proper example, but I just give you an example to understand what I mean. So maybe in the Japanese culture, always the man is taking the trash out and never the
Um,
woman, or like these small things where you think, okay, these are things which are given in my house because they always have done it like this, but in our house we have to do it different because your culture is saying this. You know what I mean? So this is what I meant.
okay.
You see?
There's one thing I want to say, probably like communicating with other people. for example, in Japan, we don't call someone suddenly. So we usually either message somebody to ask them, are you okay? Can we call you? Like, or we try not to like
Be intrusive,
suddenly.
invasive.
So
That's interesting.
unless it's some job or something, like unless it's work, we don't really call somebody suddenly. But he always says, call him, call her. Like, and I'm like, but in Japan we don't do that.
Yeah, that's true.
And
I always have to tell her, call the person, and she never does. I mean, I told her like 50 times, and I think only twice she actually called the person. And then like 5 minutes later, I ask her, did you call her? And she said, yeah, I texted her.
I mean, I do it because the person on the other line is Japanese, so I kind of know how a Japanese would feel. But then you say you should.
But you apply that to everyone, not only Japanese people.
I do.
These are the things which are extremely funny, because I think these are like I said, there are given things in different cultures, but when you come in a new culture, then you think, okay, what's wrong with him?
For example, I can tell you one that's a bit like not in the way you want, but more like in the way I said. So as far as I know, correct me if I'm wrong, in Japan, at least the work culture in the office, like the women, maybe it's changing nowadays, but like the women are kind of, so no, let me change it. The hierarchy is very important. So if you're like 2 years older than me, you have a word to say, I don't. It's like that. You will always be right. And there's this with the women at like the workplace is kind of the same. And there's an irony. I'll tell you like a paradox here. At work, so you have to make coffee for the men. If a guy asks you, make me a coffee, you kind of have to do it. And in Japan, you don't have to hold the door for a woman like we do here. Usually the women will hold the door for men. So it's kind of been reversed. It's kind of a bit reversed. And you will see that also in series and all that. So it's kind of a cliche thing, but they're telling me it's kind of changing, but it's not, it's still there.
I think it's kind of depend like on the role you take in the company. So many women tend to take I don't know how you say it in English, but their job is not part-time, but in a different type.
They're a different type of contract, you want to say, like role, yeah. Less important.
Kind of, because they want more flexibility in their job if they have children.
Okay.
And
like partial contracts, like 70-80%, you'd say it like this, right? Or
like the hours are less hours, or no, just the status?
Just the status.
Just the status. So yeah, it's a different type
status. Okay.
a different type of contract, like flexibility, because they give birth and that. So they're not given some functions where they can't be missed. So yeah, maybe that's kind. But ironically, this is the paradox. At home, when you're married, a Japanese couple, for example, a normal family, and in the family, the woman manages the money and gives an allowance to the husband. So even and this is even if the husband is working full time and the woman is a housewife. Even in that case,
this is crazy.
The housewife is the boss, and the guy has to take out ask for his own money to go out with a beer with his friends. It's crazy.
Can you imagine
like
that?
Yeah.
Can you imagine that in Romania?
Yeah, I know. I think I know how it would end in a few seconds. It would end with the evening news. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Okay, that was a good one. That was a really good one.
Yeah, it's shocking, but it's true.
Yeah, it's in a lot of cases in Japan.
Miyu, when someone would ask you now, where are you coming from? What are you answering?
But I mean, I always considered myself Japanese. In the end, I guess it's more or less the culture I've been like submerged in the longest since I was a child, and ever since. I mean, I used to live in the UK, but I always felt like I was Japanese. and so, yeah, I would say I consider myself Japanese. I think I feel most comfortable saying that.
I can understand that. I mean, that's the most of the culture that you got, right? So I think whenever you grew, whenever you're living, you still got a part of your culture there. But I need to ask you something regarding the food as well, because Valentin mentioned something about people missing the Japanese people living outside Japan missing the food from there.
Yeah.
And I saw your sushi video, and I want to ask you, how was the homemade sushi that you made in Romania compared to the one that you get in Japan? There was a small without her saying anything.
That was
There was
very
small, like,
revealing. Yeah, you got your answer there.
It's-
Next question.
exactly.
It's you just can't get the same variety. I mean, it's I know it's so stereotypical, but I really miss sushi. It's like it was so you could get it anywhere in Japan. Like you just go to the supermarket and you can just buy fresh raw fish, and you get loads of different varieties. And here, most of the time, you only get salmon and tuna, and that's it. And to me, I don't really consider that like the most authentic sushi.
I had someone from Costa Rica who lived in Japan for I think 6 months, and they said, and now he's living in Germany, and he said at the end, I asked, okay, what do you miss from Japan? I said, man, it's not that I miss it, but sushi was destroyed for me since I live in Japan because I cannot eat it anywhere else anymore.
Wow. Yeah.
Because the quality that you get there and the variety is completely different. That's why I like sushi as well. I never had sushi in Japan. I was never in Japan, but I like sushi here. So I could imagine that it's much better in Japan as well. Um, yes, you are coming from different culture originally. You lived in different cultures, and I like to say all the time that as long as you did once this step, it's always the sky's the limit, because there's nothing that can stop you from moving again. But I want to ask you, what the kind of if you'd be to describe your family, what kind of culture would you say your family has?
You mean like my parents?
No. I mean you together.
Us together.
Well, I think it's probably leaning more towards, let's say, we have a common ground in Spain. Maybe we kind of both got like the flamenco hook, but also like the lifestyle we had in Spain, in Sevilla, and we kind of also have.
That was your lifestyle. I mean,
Yeah, but
starting at 9 o'clock at night, like PM. It was,
but you enjoyed it.
at first I couldn't get used to it. 9
It took you
PM,
a while.
we were taking a shower, getting ready for bed in Japan.
Yeah, that's right. For example, in Japan, you have dinner at like 6, 7 p.m. And we when we were in Spain and we started going out, and basically in Spain they open the kitchen at 9 o'clock, 9 p.m. You can't get dinner before 9 p.m. Like usually 9:30, 10. So imagine, for her it was difficult, and I kind of for me it was perfect. Like I had dinner late too. And when we came back, yeah, it was a bit like difficult for her because she spent a few months in Japan and then she came here. And so and, from eating early to having dinner at 9, it was difficult. And a few times, yeah, we needed a few weeks to work it out, but now we get along. Now we get by. It's fine.
Yeah, well, I adapted. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now we have after 8, usually 8:30 or 9.
Yeah.
Which is not thinkable in Japan. Impossible.
So you still have a mixed culture, right?
Yeah, I think we made an average. We said, let's not do it like as late as in Spain, not as
Yeah.
early in Japan. Let's do it like 8 o'clock. So
Is Romania the final stop?
I don't think so.
you never know. I don't
Exactly.
I don't think so. I mean, I'm learning Japanese. So,
Oh, nice.
but it takes
Okay,
a
that's
while.
an interesting. That's an interesting episode in 2 years with Valentin's experience in Japan. I want to do that.
For sure. For sure. That's
Guys, it was such a pleasure the discussion with you. Before we finish it, I have a set of rapid fire questions which I would like to have answers from both of you if possible. Sushi or sarmale?
Sarmale.
Sushi.
You thought about it.
She thought about it and said, okay.
So I think it's a win for us.
I think if you compare, if she thought sushi in Romania, no, the real sushi.
Yeah.
That was the thing that she thought about.
No, maybe Sarmale. Maybe Sarmale. In Japan, sushi.
Tokyo or Bucharest?
I think I would say Bucharest. Even though I hate this place.
Okay.
Difficult one.
I think we're getting another win here. It's supposed to be a quick fire.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Tokyo. In the end.
Not very close.
On my bucket list, to be honest, but I heard all the good things about it. Romanian wedding or Japanese wedding?
I really don't know a Romanian wedding. I haven't experienced it.
I personally, I mean, I don't think the Romanian is like the best, but it's definitely better than the Japanese one.
I honestly don't really know. I've never been to a Romanian
Oh,
wedding.
you are playing with fire, my friend. You are playing with fire. Who says sorry first?
Of course, her.
Me?
Yeah. Because in their culture, they say sorry is like without any reason. And they ask, honestly. And they ask for permission for everything. But I didn't like learn it from her. I saw it on Instagram and basically it's true. So they ask for permission if they come to your house and they go to the toilet. They ask you, can I go to the toilet? And you say, okay, it's there. You can go. You show them. And then like if they go 5 times, every time they ask you, can I go to the toilet? Yeah. So every time, but and it happens with all other things. So they ask a lot. Sorry, can I have this? Or yes.
Okay, that's an interesting cultural difference. That's really interesting.
But when we argue, I think you say sorry first.
Yeah, but I think that's more linked to experience than anything.
There is also always a statement. I don't know, Valentin, if you know the statement. In a relationship, what do you want? To be right or to have a good life?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's exactly what I'm saying. Yeah.
Better breakfast is Japan or Romania?
I don't know because I don't have breakfast. So I don't know.
Me neither, but I still know the jumor with eggs on top.
I really don't know the Japanese one.
I don't know it as well. What do you have for breakfast in Japan?
So I think most people, there's like 2 types. People have toast and egg and bacon or ham.
Sounds English.
Okay.
Yeah. And then there's some people who have rice and miso soup and maybe some fish. But personally, that was too much to prepare in the morning, so I always had toast.
Now I know Japanese.
So one of the biggest surprises that I've had talking about the Japanese culture was the KFC Christmas habit.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Is there an explanation that you have for that view?
It's just marketing. Yeah. Like it's the only season where KFC has a long queue, and
You
need
have to
take,
make a reservation. You
make a
can't go in.
You have to make a reservation for Christmas. This is what I heard as well. It's just crazy.
And not only KFC, I mean, ideally, yeah, but because you can't get in, people just get all kinds of other brands of fried chicken because you just can't go
fried
in.
chicken. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is just crazy. Hardest language, Japanese or Romanian?
Arabic.
I'd say Japanese probably. I think it's probably the most difficult language on the planet.
I would say
I feel the same.
Learning letters are very difficult. Yeah, it's very difficult.
I feel the same from the outside, even though I never tried to understand it. But just to be able to read in all the directions, that kind of confusing. So that's something which you cannot really teach in school. Like, guys, I'm starting. I have a passion. I have a hard passion. I took a lot of recommendations from my episodes, and I would kindly try to get a recommendation from you as well. I love reading. So if you can recommend a book, it can be Japanese, it can be Romanian, it can be from Spain, whatever you feel like you change and you read and somehow stuck into your mind.
I would recommend The Courage to Be Disliked. I know it.
Just finished it. Just finished it.
Oh, really?
It's an amazing one.
Another
amazing.
One. Start with Y.
I don't know it.
You don't know it? You have to.
No.
You have to read this one. This one is also good. It's kind of like the middle part. Let's say the middle part, you could maybe skip it if you don't like it because it's kind of repetitive. But there's like a lot of examples about the same thing. It's from Simon Sinek, and it goes a lot into like business, which is like not necessarily very interesting. But the rest of the book is really interesting because it teaches you how to kind of look for the reasons you do the things you do, and it shows you how like, to the example, it could be personal, but it could be like companies is the same. It's like how you can end up in situations where you live a life that's not yours.
Thank you so much. Much appreciated. But The Courage to Be Disliked is one of, I think it's in my top 10 for sure. It's an amazing book. I don't know. I have somehow the feeling there are a lot of unknown books that are just there, and then you discover them and realize why didn't I knew about this book until now? So, and The Courage to Be Disliked was one of those cases.
I would like to add one thing.
Please.
We were ironic about Romania and all that, but I just don't want to leave a bad impression. I don't want people to think that I'm sure you're the same. We're not.
Absolutely.
We don't. I said I hate this place and all that, but it's like I never spoke bad about Romania, and I actually try every time to give a good example. And every time I went abroad, I always took Romanian products and promoted, the culture, the people. I told them, go to Sibiu, go to Transylvania, go to Brașov, go to Oradea, go see the bears, go, all these things, discover all these nice places and the culture. I've even brought foreigners to Romania quite a few times to see festivals and all these nice things, and made some tours. So I've I don't want people to think that I hate the people or the country or nothing. It's not like that. It's just I don't like big cities, and Miyu doesn't like big cities. So we don't like Bucharest in general, but we don't like Madrid. We don't like Tokyo. We don't like big cities. We don't like. So it's because of this. It's not because I have something against it. The contrary, and I think it's the same for you.
Absolutely. And Valentin, thank you for saying it. first of all, I think it's important to say we come from there, and the good and the bad and the normal and the unnormal and the crazy, it's all ours, and we belong there. And there is this thing that somehow gives you this home feeling when you get close to that country, even though you have maybe you have a house there, or maybe you don't have it, but doesn't matter. It gives you there is a saying in Romanian, I don't know if there is universal, but the pământ te cheamă pământul. The land is calling you, like you have that feeling. And we know the good, we know the bad. We also have the saying in Romania that a friend is the one that is cursing you and then helping you. And this is exactly the same with Romania. I think we have the right to be honest about it. We have the right to make fun of the things that we know they are not working. Like we also have the right to praise the things that are working. And I think this is something that gives us the right, because we are born there and we experience everything.
Definitely. And just one more funny thing. We took a DNA test, and funny enough, my DNA says 0% Romanian. So like everywhere around Romania, all the countries, I had a few percentages. I had even 15% Italian. Anyway, but like Romania was 0%, and I was like, how is this possible? So you should go check Mew's blog to see that episode.
I've seen the episode. I will link it below. By the way, important things. I will link all your social media accounts in the show notes description for anyone who wants to experience some Romania and Spain through the eyes of someone from the other side of the world. Just check out the YouTube channel, check out the Instagram account. I will link everything in the show notes description. And guys, I want to thank you very much for this enjoyable discussion. It was a pleasure for me.
Thank you. It was really fun.
Thank you for your time. Thank you for your time. It was a lot of fun for me as well. It's always fun to talk to someone who's living in Romania, because this is just a different kind of discussion. And I also had someone from Romania who was living in South Africa. Also an amazing experience, because that's something like you don't really have that often. And
Can I ask you
it was a
one
pleasure
thing?
Please.
Because you've asked us question. Can I ask you something?
Of course.
I would like to know, what was like the first important memory that you made abroad when you moved abroad? It could be like 1 week later or 10 years after you moved abroad. It doesn't matter. But like the oldest memory you have, that was like something, maybe you learned something new, you discovered something for the first time, or something that you didn't know, you didn't think was possible, or it was like so strange, so different, so awkward, so amazing, so bad, whatever.
My first experience, my first literal experience abroad was I was lucky enough to win like a month of an abroad in one of the semester of the 11th grade in high school in Romania. So that was my first experience. I was in Totnes, I think was the name of the city, somewhere in southern England. So I did fly from Budapest, because I'm originally from around Cluj, so there was no direct flights from Cluj, so we had to drive to Budapest, and we've flown in from there. That was my first experience abroad. And what I can tell you that I learned in my life abroad, I learned that sky is the limit. And I have to say, it sounds so over dramatic and poetic, and I don't know how to say it, but you realize that there is no limit except the limit that you actually build for yourself. There are no walls. There is nothing that can stop you. And I have such an ease in traveling since I live abroad, because I realize there's nothing you can fix. Everything is fixable.
Yeah.
And the biggest shock, the biggest cultural shock that I had in Germany, I want to mention two actually, was the stores being closed on Sundays. There's something which was really hard to comprehend at the beginning. I understand, and I also can accept. Exactly. Yeah. There's a second thing. And second thing, I'm living in a small city, also close to small cities, and I'm living actually in a village. Everyone is saying hello. And this is something which is hard for me to comprehend. I think it's our friends asked us when they visit us, do you know them? I don't know. Just like we just cross each other's
Yeah.
steps, and everyone is saying hello. And this is something that you learn, that you can make someone's day, someone days better just by saying hello and by giving him a smile. And I think we make our life too complicated.
Definitely.
This is it sounds philosophical. I'm sorry for
No,
that.
no,
I
it's
don't like
actually
it.
quite cool. Yeah.
But it's somehow, I think it's we make things too complicated when we can have them so easy. It's so easy to smile. It's so easy to try to enjoy your day and to have this fun conversation that we had today. Like, we can laugh about each other, and we
Yeah.
can also be serious with each other, which is amazing. I think this is what life is about.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you.
Thank you for the question. Nobody's asking me questions, so I'm unspoken.
Thank you. It was really nice. We had fun.
The same for me, guys. I hope we do this again after Valentin's experience with Japan. So I'm waiting for that email that is dropping. Guys, thanks so much. Have a nice evening.
Thank
We'll talk to you
you.
soon.
Thank
You
you.
too. Bye.
Bye.